The question I get asked the most is, are they allowed to date outside of me? That's the question I get all the damn time, and I'm answering right now, no. And I'm going to tell you why.
And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night.
The women that may be looking at this and say, see, that's that nonsense they talking about.
Well, I would say that's why you're single still. You want to give the investment for that person to become somebody, and then you lost them probably a long time ago.
You know she knew who she married because she's ironing his clothes to go see some hoes. Okay, like God's in that. God is telling you to iron this man's clothes so he can go see some hoes. That's what you got.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mel, and welcome to Life Coaching by Mel. Here at Life Coaching by Mel, we speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get each and every one of my videos. Hit that like button for me. Hit me in that comment section. Today is going to be an invigorating conversation that I know you want to contribute to, and be sure to share this with at least one person. Let's get into today's topic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Life Coaching by Mel. But I'm starting a segment, not just myself, my girl Tamara here once again. We're starting a segment here called Marriage Minded, because we're two married people who have spouses that don't like doing this. Our spouses have no interest in coming on camera whatsoever. So we the talk to the people in our marriages, and we love marriage, we support marriage, and we have a lot to say about it. Tamara, first off, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good, Mel. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Good. And I'm supporting you, and it's awesome to see your growth continue to go. But I'm looking forward to these segments that we do together, because we have a lot of talk, amongst ourselves, and then we text each other, be like, "Hey, you see this bull crap here?" So this is exciting,
Yes.
about these things, and we're not gonna always agree on everything,
Right.
but definitely, I believe we agree on having a marriage mind regarding how we interact just with social issues and things like that. So we have an amazing topic today, ladies and gentlemen. You want to stay to the end here. Now, sometimes I want to say this. I want to be clear on this. Sometimes this segment is going to be on this channel here, but it's also going to be on Tamara's channel. Tamara, tell people where they can find your channel so they can go subscribe.
Oh my goodness. Well, you can find me on YouTube at Just Live Mara. We are trying to gear up, so you'll see some of my old content. But like I said, or like Mel said, we're trying to do this segment where we kind of work together. We talk about different topics, try to add some marriage-minded expertise to some of these topics. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. Same thing, Just Live Mara on everything. So I have my handle right there under my name. So you're more than welcome to follow and subscribe and tune in.
Yes, indeed. Well, we got an amazing topic, like I mentioned here. Tamara, you brought this over to me, and I watched it. It's a topic from the podcast by the name of, what is it?
My Wifey podcast.
Wife. Yeah, Dear Future Wife.
Dear Future Wifey, my wifey. Dear Future Wifey, right. Yes.
I think his name is Latera Whitfield. I believe it's his name.
Lateris. Yeah, Lateris, I think. Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't want to misrepresent the brother. He's doing big things over there. But he had an episode when he had Pastor Reggie and Kelly Steele on there. And it's very interesting. So we have a lot of clips that we're going to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about something that may be uncomfortable for a lot of you to hear. But I ask that you stick with us. Ask that you do what that line saying on the bottom there. Hit that like button and share with someone. Also, if you agree or disagree, hit us in the comment section, because this is not a conversation just for us. It's a collaborative effort. So be sure to tune in. So we have a couple clips, and we're going to go from there. We're going to provide a commentary along the way. Here goes the first clip.
Me out my name, it wouldn't bother me because I allowed God's voice to be louder than his. And when I was going through transition of him not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you, right. I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I would say, you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night. And these are all things I was graced to do. I would not encourage anybody to do that unless you are graced graced by God to do this. But once I knew who I was, I realized, oh, the enemy's after him. So I began to pray for him, not for my husband before, but as a soul. I didn't want him to be lost. Whether we made it or not, I didn't want him to be lost. I wanted him to be in his purpose because of that one dream I had that lasted about 2 seconds.
And this is all true because I can remember before she had this encounter with God, I would come home 2-3 days later. My clothes would be bleached.
Yeah.
I would find my toothbrush floating in the toilet. So, and then the blessings that she wasn't home because she would have probably died.
Oh, I have wisdom. Wisdom says you leave after you do that.
I'm looking at my K-Swiss back then. I'm looking at my IOU sweater, my jeans.
Yeah, I bleached it all.
I bleached. And so weeks later, now I'm coming home 2-3 days later, and she's like, "What do you want for dinner?"
Yep.
He's like, "I don't know if I'm gonna eat that. You're gonna poison me."
I said, "She's gonna kill me."
Now we ain't play about them K-Swiss back in the day, man. We ain't play about
I
them
remember.
All right, so before we get into our commentary, let me set this up a little bit. This is a couple who's, I believe, 27 years married, and it's actually this day that it was their anniversary. They were celebrating 27 years, and hey, Latera ended up saying, "I didn't ask them to say this type of stuff. I didn't know they were coming on to say this." It sounds like they kind of, the wife actually went into a lot of the background and history of just how they all started, but it was very, very rough. So Tamara, just off that clip alone, what are your thoughts?
I feel like that was a bit struggle love. While I'm fully support that they work through that, I just don't think that's a type of situation a lot of people could work through. I'm also kind of finicky about when people tell them God told them to do certain things, you know. I just can't imagine, you know, God wanting you to endure, you know, something like that, you know, with a man. I just, you know, I don't like when people blame God for certain situations. I feel like that was her choice, you know, to stick around. And just because even if you got, I don't know, I'm a little torn with that. I would not recommend that type of marriage to nobody that's interested in marriage. I think that's a bit, it's like a cautionary tale of a marriage you don't want to have, the type of marriage that you don't want to have to you don't have to work through those problems. Like, I feel like those were unnecessary problems. In the same token, I just find it funny. She felt like God was telling her to stick around, but she already knew what in high school that was going to be her husband. She was already cool with him cheating, you know, since high school. She knew what she was marrying. So that's why I'm like, was it really God, or was this is a choice that you made in high school and you just stuck with it? Okay. And I think she was probably trying to, you know, she probably was getting fed up, you know, after a certain time period and was looking for a reason to leave. And I just feel like she probably used God as a reason to stick around personally. Now, again, I don't want to discredit their marriage, because 27 years is an amazing feat. And she's an amazing woman for even being able to handle some of the stuff that he put her through. But I wouldn't call her a victim, because she definitely knew who she married. And you know what kind of got me, Mel, is you know she knew who she married because she's ironing his clothes to go see some hoes. Okay, like so God's in that. God is telling you to iron this man's clothes so he can go see some hoes. That's what you got. Oh, okay. Now, I do believe, there are certain stories in the Bible of women that were in, you know, bad marriages. But, you know, back then, they didn't have a choice in the matter. Typically, those were pre-arranged marriages, and they just kind of had to deal with it. Like the story of Abigail, I think, is one. You know, she had a very abusive husband, but she was the exact opposite. But, you know, she didn't willingly choose that type of man, you know, to deal with, but she also protected him. So when I hear stories like that, I can see how a wife could be a man's protection to a certain degree. But man, no, I don't wish this kind of love on nobody.
I hear you for sure. I mean, you going back to the Bible day, we can go back to our grandma and our great grandma like that. that was the perpetual or the common trait for most marriages that we've seen. I will say for sure, my grandparents, before my grandfather and grandmother, came to Christ, they was on them. They was in them streets. My grandpa was in them streets, doing this thing, coming home with lipstick on the collar, numbers in his pocket, and all those things. And it was just finding himself and finding what it means to actually be a man of substance and a man of integrity. I have to say this, Tamara. I mean, yes, our women are way more liberated nowadays and have way more options where they don't have to put up with that. What you just said, you don't wish this on nobody. And all you saw in the comment section was women saying, may this love never find me. But with all those options, it seems like our women are way less happy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, you good. You good.
I got 2 cats and they're fighting right behind.
Oh, that's the cat.
I'm like, silly. Anyway, go ahead.
I thought that was the baby girl.
No, it's damn cats. Oh my God.
But yeah, it seems like our women, the more liberation they receive, the more complaining they do. And it's just my perspective. I would love to hear yours. But it's not just complaining, it's way less marriages. And I think the freedom is good, but is it yielding the results that you're looking for? I have a clip. She's going to talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But are you yielding the results? May this love never find me. But yes, we're looking at them, their entire story, 27 years later. But they met in their teens, and he met. They got married in the early 20s. So he had a lot of developing to do, and she was willing to do it. But now we see the end of their story where they're multimillionaires, pastors of a mega church. When he finally gave his life to Christ, I think it was like year 4 of their relationship. And of course, she had many wounds that had to be healed. And she talked about her insecurities. Maybe she had some level of insecurity, but
she did.
Yes.
Yes. She did mention some good things. Because he even said that she wasn't his type. He definitely said that you're supposed to marry your purpose, not your preference. Let's
actually play that one.
Oh.
Let's play that clip.
See, I think part of the problem with a lot of people that are married or not married, they're looking more for preference over purpose. I believe that this is my purpose.
Right.
Because she really wasn't my preference.
I wasn't.
But when she opened the door at 17 years old and I was 18, and I said, oh my God. And she said, what? I said, you're my wife.
Yep.
I knew it.
Yep.
And here I am in a backslidden condition, but I knew she was my wife.
Right.
Straight up.
Because I knew I wasn't his preference. My husband dated little Latina girls with long hair and big titties.
You gotta remember, I'm from Arizona.
In fact, when he first met me, he's like, you're cute, but you're a little heavier than what I'm used to. And I go, well, what are you used to? He's like, I'm used to, $1.20, $1.25. I said, well, I'm almost $2. So I don't know what to say.
Continue.
Well, one question I had, how did he know that was his wife? What he never really explained that. Now that I think about that in the video, he didn't really explain that to me or to the viewers. Yeah. Why he knew that was his wife. Did you choose her as your wife because she was willing to put up with your shit? I mean, is that that's what I'm getting. She was the only one that was willing to be that ride or die chick, despite of, and that's why I'm like, I'm a little torn, how people be mixing God and trying to say God. I'm having a hard time feeling like God picks partners for us. I'm really having a hard time with that. I think he gives us he gives us teachings, the Bible, to show you what to look for to find a godly person, somebody that he would feel comfortable with you dating, but he's not going to specifically point out certain people to you. No, you got to be able to recognize him in people. And that's how you find your partner. So that's now I do agree with the preference, or date your purpose over preference. I definitely do agree with that. And I think that's what people got to realize. Even married people can sometimes give bad advice. Even single people can give bad advice. Sometimes single people give good advice, and sometimes married people give good advice. So you got to filter between the bad stuff and the good stuff. Where I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff that she had to deal with. I don't agree with, them telling, God told you to do this. I just think it was out of sheer convenience. You found a woman that was straight up that you knew in high school. She told you she was cool with being number one, but having to share you with other women. So you knew what you had. You knew the type of chick that you was dealing with. That's why she's your wife. Let's be clear on that. Like that was gonna be consistency for you. And then she had to learn how to detach herself from certain situations, because I can't see any woman being able to put up with that without having to learn how to emotionally detach yourself from certain situations. Being able to iron your husband's clothes and you know he about to go sleep with another woman, you have to emotionally detach yourself to a certain degree to be able to do something like that. That takes a whole different wiring for you to be able to do that. And we're really saying that God led you to do this. That's what I'm struggling with. Just say you chose to give your husband time to sow his royal oats and you were going to support him in that. But don't try to say God told you to do that. That's what I don't like. That's what I don't like. I don't like that.
Okay, let's dig into that a little bit, because you're going down the route I wanted to go down.
Okay.
I do believe when scriptures talk about what is love, one of those aspects of love is long suffering.
That ain't that type of suffering, Mel. But continue.
Where does it describe what type of long suffering it will be? Honestly, I do think there's an element of marriage that is separate from the spouse, and that element is your one-on-one relationship with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only so much you can do as a spouse as they're developing in weeding out all those negative things about their life, and the things that were there way before you came in the picture.
Yeah.
You saw those things and still accepted them for who they were, and knowing that if you serve a mighty God, he can get that delivered from them. I grew up seeing this lady named Miss Pearly come to Sunday school, come to church every week. No husband. He used to drop her off. We used to see him. Hey, we used to wave to him every week.
Hey, at least he was dropping her off.
I know it. He wouldn't step foot in that church. So my whole childhood, he never came, but he started to come like when I was around 16, 17, and he became one of the strongest deacons. But Miss Pearly would pray for him every Sunday, and because she knew eventually that he would come around, and it wasn't her position to be his savior, but her position to force him to serve Christ. It was her position to be his wife, and allow him to find those answers for himself.
Right.
So it brings me to the question of how serious do we take our vows, for better or for worse, richer or for poor, sickness and health. He was a pretty sick guy, I just really want to know how serious we are about our vows if we're saying that we're not willing to put up with that. Well,
no. I think people are pretty serious with their vows, but I think people know what they're not going to put up with. Like she knew what she was marrying. Before they even got married, he was a known cheater. She knew she was going to share him. So this was a journey that she was willing to embark on. Most women don't want to have to deal with that shit. That's not something that you want to deal with. I'm sorry. I don't want to have to deal with you. Okay, not only are you cheating on me, you got arrested. We got to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So what are we doing? Like, I even saw like another marriage. I don't like that we glorified. I just think that's struggle love to a certain degree. While yes, they have a long marriage, I feel like that was unnecessary. Like a biblical marriage, they should have been divorced because he defiled his bed. Let's be clear. He cheated. That's not a godly marriage. If you're cheating, well, that's not a
pin in that, because you gotta get. The thing is, we say that as it's a definite, but really it's Christ giving us an option.
It can
giving
be.
Us an app.
It can be.
Basically, and he regretfully gave that option because he was like, because I know y'all so full of sin. He said, I hate divorce, but because I know y'all so full of sin, and you just, you forcing me to say this, here go this option that you have to go ahead and get divorced if there's infidelity. Correct.
So yeah, you do have the option. So And yes, you're right. He still absolutely hates it, whether it's justifiable or not. But
Right.
I'm not going to tell somebody if you are not capable of working through that, because that, again, everybody's not equipped like she's equipped. You can sit here and say women all day need to do this and need to do that. Even the most sane woman cannot deal with the man repeatedly cheating on her. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I've dealt with that in dating, and I knew, I can't deal with that. How am I supposed to trust you? How you're supposed to be loyal to me, and you're not being loyal. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm supposed to see 20 years from now that all of a sudden you're going to decide to be loyal because you tired. You're tired. Okay. You tired of running the streets. You're not going to sit here and tell me most men, even man hoes, eventually get tired. You get tired of running the streets. You get tired of entertaining different women versus where you can go home to a woman that knows you. Again, I see through the mud. Like, it ain't, they're trying to sugarcoat it into this thing. And I do agree that, yes, when you get into a marriage, you take your marriage seriously. But if I know I'm going to take a marriage seriously during my vetting period, I'm not going to marry a man that's going to straight up tell me that I'm going to have to share him. No, that's not a journey that I want to embark on.
However,
if I got with a man that I know that I can trust, that's going to be faithful to me, I can embark on that journey.
Yeah. We're talking about Christian marriages now. However, when they first met or first got married, they both weren't Christians. And so because of that, I'm going to address it this way. Mm-hmm. If you come into a relationship with the understanding of how things will be, how can we, hold them to a certain standard beforehand? So we have women out here that will say, as long as you're up front with me and honest, I can roll with the punches. I can roll the program. I think it's just my personal opinion, Tamara, because I have these type of conversations, have had back when I was single. I would say this. I think most women would be okay with this as long as you are open with it. I think what the problem comes when it's public. The problem comes when you're embarrassed.
Debatable.
Let me finish this point. I'm just going.
Okay. I was like, debatable.
Wrong. I think problem come with her specifically. It came because he started to throw it in her face to get sloppy with it. I think she was okay with it as long as, like you said, she was number one, and everything was not out in the open.
No, Mel.
Go ahead.
You missed the part where she was actually looking for him and trying to catch him. And did you miss that part? Like, that's what I'm saying. What do you like? How are you gonna say you're cool with something and now you're tracking him? What did she say? His friends call her. She used to work for the FBI. She can find out anything. She showed up when he was leaving the club, and again, she's selling it like she was cool with it. But then the more she talked, you're showing me that you really wasn't cool with it, and you did struggle with it. You did struggle with this.
Right.
This was a journey. This was a marriage that she chose. But I would not recommend this marriage to most women. No, I still recommend women to get married, but find a man that's going to be loyal to you. Don't find a man that's going to straight up tell you that he going to be sharing you. And to your point where you say most women will be okay with it, I think most women will be okay with it if the man was financially stable and they didn't have a worry. Now, they not going to deal with no man that can't financially take care of them and he cheat. No. The only way I've seen that works, it has to be a Neo situation. He got to be financially able to take care of me at my whim. Okay. And that just is what it is. But most normal average women can't deal with that. They can't deal with it.
And we're going to get to Neo here in a second here. You're spot on, because that was the other aspect. Like, she was the breadwinner for the majority of the time, up until the point where he became a pastor and, became this mega church, even she financed that, so yeah, I'm with you. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying, and I'm not defending this, but I do kind of fight back against
saying. I do get what you're saying.
And I'm saying I fight back against the mob mentality and this collective seeming like brain that women have. Like, if women don't want to stand out, what I'm talking about now is the comment section. Mm-hmm. Women don't want to stand out and say, well, there were the free women, especially women that went to their church, that came in their comment section was like, hey, we know their story and they're a beautiful couple. They, they're living for God now and all that stuff. But most women were like, hey, like I said, may this love never find me, the struggle love, all those things. I never want to be cheated on. But we do know infidelity is running rampant in the black community, especially, and people staying together. So let's not act like
it's not
this
always
stuff
a
is
deal
not
breaker.
happening.
Yeah, it's not always
Right.
a deal breaker.
Absolutely. So I just find it disingenuous for the most part. But we got one more clip on these individuals and get to Mr. Neo here in a second.
What would you say to the women that may be looking at this and say, see, that's that nonsense they talking about?
Well, I would say that's why you're single still. Because I'm sure somebody had been in your life already.
You don't pick the fight. You don't.
And you didn't want to give the investment for that person to become somebody, and then you lost them probably a long time ago. And you should have just worked with them from the beginning and just worked out the kinks and worked it out, because a man can always build. Money can always be made, and that's what we do. We build a life together. And I'm so thankful that that's what we've done. And that's why I think I value and love you so much, because we've built our life. And so they miss that building process because they want to come into it already done. Now, I get it. Eve was put on the earth with everything done. I get it. That's why women want things to be set and done, because Eve showed up and everything was named and it was just there.
Wow.
But at the same time, God can give women a resilience, because we're a helpmeet for a reason. And we're supposed to help meet the need and help complete the man. I know it's going to cause a fight with that too, but I'm very into that, because I'm living it. I'm a living example of it works. When you line up your life and get behind your man that is following God, that's submitted to God, and you say, Lord, what can I do to make him better? Your life overall becomes better.
Just looking at your face the entire time was hilarious.
Because don't we call this building a man? This is exactly what women don't want to have to do. Ain't he the leader? Because it sounds like she leading. Man, am I hearing this wrong? Am I hearing it wrong? Because where was he leading in any of this outside of in the streets?
This is true. First off, I don't think we should have reasonable expectation for a man that's not following God to lead you anywhere. That's my first thought.
And then she said, Bill, I'm supposed to choose to build with a man that just told me I gotta share his ass with other women. But now what I do agree with what she said, I do think women meet who they're supposed to be with, and they think they're gonna find better, and they don't ever really find better. They just gotta find something that they just can get, to essentially. But now that part I do agree with, but I just don't like it in the context that she's using it.
But let's take it out of that. Let's take it out of that context, because this is an extreme case of building a man. It's an extreme case.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's bring it home to every day. Do you believe women criteria of what it means to build a man is like they literally are taking anything and saying, "Nah, if you ain't got it all together, I don't want to be with you." Is it possible at all to help a man get to where he should be or take him to the next level?
Most definitely. And I feel like me and my husband experienced that. We've been dating since our early 20s, and I had to get my shit together. So again, it took both of us having to grow individually. Now, I ain't had to deal with no cheating. He ain't telling me I had to share him with somebody else. I didn't have to worry about him getting locked up. I just feel like that's unnecessary drama. And to bring things full circle, because I'm part of this group on Facebook, predominantly men. But of course I think they kind of get into that red pill movement, but I just do it to observe or whatever. Anyway, they had shared this post of this couple. They had been married for 17 years or been together for 17 years. No, they were married for 17 years, but the husband got locked up. He got locked up the entire time. The woman stayed by his side, everything. I think he was cheating. She had to go through hell and high water and they shared this post on his page to kind of highlight, persevering through marriage. And right. It's just certain marriages I don't feel like should be a highlight on a journey. Like, it's great to hear, people actually persevere, but don't sit here and try to use your marriage as a reason, or to downplay why certain women are single. I would rather stay single than deal with some of the stuff that she dealt with in her marriage. And let's just be clear on that. And I don't think that, a man like that would, to me, based on biblical teaching, is my husband. My husband wouldn't operate like that, right? That's right. Not. And then, you're supposed to marry potential. That's my potential. This is what I'm working with. How am I supposed to see past that? So I think you're supposed to take what it says in the Bible. You're supposed to take what it says in the Bible, and you're supposed to find that person on the inside. It ain't even about on the outside, and that goes back to purpose over preference situation. But yeah, I just no, Mel. Now everybody has their own marriage journey, and once you commit to it. As long as there ain't no abuse, and you're willing to deal with cheating, more power to you. But don't try to make it seem like women are still single because they didn't choose the type of man that you chose. Let's not do that.
So let me ask you this, and it's gonna sting a little bit. How we know the man that you find ain't the man that's on your level? How we know that the jailbird, the lifetime criminal, ain't the man on your level?
Well, it depends. Is it a felony? Can you get a job? Or can you vote? What are your how is that going to impact my life that we're trying to build together? Because you're going to have those certain decisions will impact future decisions. So again, like, yeah, I got to take that in consideration. We can't be what misdemeanor, maybe. I'll put it like this. When I first started dating my husband, right, our first date, he had a problem with speeding tickets. Okay, this man just had a problem with speeding tickets. I almost didn't talk to him because he looked a little thuggish at the time. A little thuggish, and I was a little nervous. So he was supposed to come over our first meeting, and oh my gosh, he got arrested. Right. So he sent me a text message, and he was like, "Babe," oh no, he didn't. He came, babe. He was like, "Hey," because we weren't even dating at the time. We weren't together at the time. We were just kind of like getting to know each other. And he was like, "I ain't gonna be able to come over because I got locked up." I saw that, man. I was ready to dismiss him right off the bat. I didn't even know why. I didn't even know. I was like, oh my God, if it's drug related, I can't do it. I'm not that female. I'm not going to be putting money on your books. I'm not going to be the one to come visit you. I knew what the type of female I was. That I didn't want that type of life. Now, luckily, it was just speeding tickets. I could rock with that. Right. He got it together. But I get it. And so that's what I'm saying. You kind of get a glimpse. And depending on what it is, I'm not saying you can't deal with no jailbirds, but I need to know what you did and how long is that going to carry over into our future? What is that going to impact? You can build, and there's been plenty of women that tend to like jailbirds. Let's be clear.
Be abundantly clear.
But
yeah, no. Empty.
that wasn't my life. So
this is what I'm really asking. Mm-hmm. The best thing I like about Miss Kelly Steele, is her self-awareness. She was aware of
she had to grow into her self-awareness because she was insecure. She admitted she was very insecure.
Well, insecure and awareness, like awareness is a little bit different. Like she's aware of the woman she is. Like
she was aware of what he was doing. No.
She was aware of her being overweight. She wasn't, because of her reaction, her response.
How are you self-aware and you're chasing behind and running behind a man that you know is cheating? You're not self-aware.
I think we're saying two different definitions. I'm talking about her physical appearance. She was aware of how she looked, her weight, that she was different than all the other women he was with.
Oh, well, yeah. But what does that have to do with
what I'm talking about.
But how would that make her feel? What does that self-awareness do if he's cheating?
Just hear me out. That's what I'm saying. Because of her self-awareness, is it possible that she realized this is the level of man she can obtain? That's my point about.
No, I just think that has a lot to do with low self-esteem. And she admitted she had low self-esteem. She admitted she was operating in low self-esteem.
But that's the conundrum I run with when I talk to a lot of women. I think some women, not all, got too high esteem. Like they see themselves better than what they are.
I do agree, but you also don't want to pick somebody that you got to endure some mess like that either. There got to be a happy medium. There's definitely a happy medium.
I'm with you.
You're a happy medium. There's a happy medium of men that exists, and that's what I'm saying. So why are we promoting, to a certain degree, women building these type of men up? No. Look, I'm glad you made 27 years. Ladies, don't do it, okay? Unless you can put up with what she said. You got to be emotionally intelligent. You got to be able to know how to detach yourself from certain situations. You got to be self-secure. You got to be confident. And you just got to know you the head be in charge no matter what. And you got to be able to deal with certain women who might get in their feelings about your man. Imagine that. So,
And I think that's what made her stay. But that's what made her stay, knowing this guy's an upper echelon of guy in her eyes. He was an athlete, star athlete.
She used to bleach his clothes, Mel.
She was upset because another woman was getting the attention that
the
she
same
should get.
Woman that she knew he was gonna be cheating.
She wanted to stay number one. You remember when he said he was going to clubs, end up being the same club his daddy and granddaddy went to.
But who's at home? Your number one is at home. What are we discussing?
I think as long as if he was just going out, as a say it blunt, smashing on these girls and not taking them out and not doing anything in the public, not being embarrassed, she would have been okay. It's the fact that they was getting the treatment that she should have been getting. That's what made her upset.
Why would she get upset when he's told her from the jump that's what he was going to do?
But the framework is I'm number one. As long as I'm number one. Number one looks.
But that's why this situation is messy, because if him verbally telling you number one is not good enough, clearly. If you had to track him and go to these clubs and you bleaching his clothes but you so confident and you wouldn't be acting like that.
Number one looks like I'm the only one that goes out to eat with you. I'm the only one that you show publicly. I'm the only one that gets preferential treatment. Everybody else, just get your rocks off.
Okay, but how can you control an uncontrollable man?
By pouring bleach. And
that didn't work because he was still going out.
Right. You can't control.
You can't really control what he does. You can't control what number you are, in all honesty. You can't control any of that because it's based on his actions, how these women feel. That's why I couldn't deal with a woman feeling like she was on the same level as me. No. She shouldn't even have a glimpse of what that even feels like, in my opinion. So again, it was a lot of what I got from it. We think about marriage as the man leading. I didn't hear him doing a lot of leading. I heard her doing a lot of leading and interceding on his behalf. That's what I heard. I heard the exact opposite. I didn't hear a biblical marriage. I heard a marriage that just happened. That was the type of marriages you hear that your grandparents have been together for a long time and it was just cheaper to keep her type marriages. That's what is given to me. But I'm glad that they turned their lives around, and I'm glad that they have this testimony to share with people. But I just don't like the way they're trying to blend God into some of this mess. But I'm glad it worked out.
It's convenient for sure. It's convenient for sure.
Okay, right. That's the word. I mean, it's real convenient.
And at times, it's just something we throw out there, when we trying to clean up the mess. As we said throughout this, or at least I have, there are women that are okay with this.
Oh, most definitely. Neo.
Yes. And you address that properly on your channel. And I want to play that real quick here.
To keep it a buck, like, we're not gonna lie. We're not gonna lie to each other. We're not gonna sit up and blow smoke. I ain't selling no dreams, and I'm not forcing anybody to be here. If for whatever reason you decide this ain't for you no more, the door is never locked. You have permission to go on about your business. I don't want anybody to think that I'm manipulating these women into doing something they don't want to do. Everyone that is here by choice.
These are grown women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They made the decision. The question I get asked the most is, are they allowed to date outside of me? Oh. That's the question I get all the damn time, and I'm answering right now. No. And I'm going to tell you why. No, they are not. Here's the thing. When I got with these women, I did not ask for their exclusivity. I did not demand their exclusivity. They offered it. They said, they came to me and said, I want to be exclusive to you and just you. I said, you understand that your exclusivity to me does not mean my exclusivity to you.
Wow. You
understand this? Yes. You're okay with
it. Thanks, my girl. And we'll let you explain yourself here. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so my only point in regards to the Neo situation, I'm not against people, relationship choices. But I don't empathize for women that choose these lifestyles. They walk in knowing what the setup is and this is what I think is fair. I think, yes, most women should be given the opportunity to choose if this is like your type of setup. But the last thing I want to see, but what you tend to notice, and Lord, I hope I be praying I be wrong sometimes. But if things don't work out and feathers get ruffled, now all of a sudden they're gonna demonize the man online, and then you're gonna have the sisterhood running behind these 3 heifers that decided that they was cool with it, from jump. I can't empathize for women that willingly choose this lifestyle. Same with old girl, the pastor. I can't empathize for some of the stuff that she went through. These were willing participants in the matter. But I also feel like Neo's doing this out of sheer convenience and lack of self-control and discipline. A lot of times you see I've seen poly relationships done with good intentions, even though I don't necessarily agree with having to share my man. I do get why they do it, in a community building manner. But what I'm finding, a lot of men are doing this out of sheer convenience because they don't want to simply be told no when they want to have intercourse with a woman. They want it to be available at all times, which I think is a bit selfish. That's not what that type of lifestyle was intended to be. So again, but women have to sign up for it at the same token. So I just don't empathize with women that sign up for that. Don't get mad. Don't get in your feelings. And that's another situation where you have to have self-control. You have to be able to control your emotions. You have to be self-aware. You have to have emotional intelligence. That takes a sense of, I don't know if I want to call it maturity, or maybe a sense of understanding, because even the most mature people probably couldn't even handle something like that. It just takes a level of understanding to deal with something like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's where I am with that. Now, how you feel about that, Bill? Don't piss me off.
I think I'm about to. I definitely think I'm about to. I'm a proponent of supporting, it's poly life. Even as a Christian man, I am. There's more scriptures. I ain't gonna go through all of them, but you guys can research it yourself. It's more scripture to support poly life than it is to not support.
Hold on. Let's stick a pin in that. And when he says that, also dig deeper into those stories and see how dealing with those many women cause consequences to those men. So make sure you pay attention to that. But continue, Neil.
Most definitely. And that's the biggest deterrence from my end.
Yes.
Is the consequences that come with it. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I'm with you when it comes to Neo specifically. If you remember his dating history, he's had a lot of bad trauma when it comes to women he's been in the public with.
Well, he was married. He was married. Right? He kept cheating.
Right. He did. Definitely did. And I think a lot of men come to this understanding of themselves about, when they dive into this, when they kind of trying to be real with themselves about their propensity to cheat or propensity, to have high sex drive. So that's why I want to go with you with something you said there. Mm-hmm. You said about wife saying no about sex. Mm-hmm. Our wives or husbands are we supposed to tell our spouse no?
Hell yeah. It's my body. It's my body. If I'm tired, if I'm sick, yes, absolutely. Now, and I don't think you should deprive your partner, no. But there is like a legit reason. Hell yeah. I think it's our own individual responsibility, to control our urges. And I think men have this entitlement, thinking that when they marry their wife, they're just entitled to her body. You're never entitled to her body. She has to be a willing participant to give you her body. Let's be clear. And I think that's where men have the disconnect is. There's never a point, even if you marry a woman, a man has control over a woman's body. And if that wasn't the case, women would not be able to, say that their husbands raped them because they did not consent. And this is why I'm a firm believer in sex being controlled by mutual consent. It's not controlled by one gender. Sex was never meant to be controlled by one gender. That's where we were supposed to be equally and mutually vulnerable with one another. That was supposed to be an intimate moment. It was not supposed to be a moment where somebody's supposed to control one or the other. You're supposed to become one. And men have turned it into this dominating thing. And that's not what it's for. She's also dominating you because you're submitting your body to her. as well. So, and one thing I know about men, there are, I would say, 3 moments y'all are most vulnerable: sex, sleep, and when you eat. Okay, those are the moments y'all are the most relaxed, y'all are the most at peace, and you're not, you're chill. That's when anybody can probably take advantage of you in those particular moments. So,
no doubt.
So for men to think that it's our responsibility, and they think that because they tend to want it more, which I think is also a lie. And like I had made a post, I was like, women ovulate every fucking month. If you want to actually track a moment, how often we want it, we at least want sex 12 times out the year consistently. And that's not even including the off times, because again, men and women can be sex addicts. But again, it's our responsibility to control our urges, period.
No doubt.
And I think as men have to learn, just because you lust after women, that does not mean you're supposed to sleep with them. I think that's just a natural nature. You're going to be attracted to women the same way, women are going to be attracted to men. But I'm not going to impulsively act on it because I feel like I'm a woman and I'm ovulating. Let me go ahead and do what I need to do. No, that's not how you're supposed to operate. You're a human being. You have a mind, and you got to be able to control yourself.
Yeah, I purposely didn't say just men or women. I said both. Because you was on it when it comes to saying a specific word you said when you said deprive. That's exactly what the word of God says. This is 1 Corinthians 7:5. Do not deprive each other, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Again, Corinthians, Paul talking to the Corinthian church. So depending on your belief of the word of God, it's not a commandment, of course, but it is a high suggestion from Paul. And I just think that it's another one of those liberation things that has happened, and we have blended so many of our social issues to our spiritual issue or spiritual dynamic or even our family. I think, of course, any man in their right mind that would force their wife to have sex while she's sick or hurting, I think he's a lunatic. Any woman in her right mind doing the same. But I do think, will you agree with me that say that a lot of women weaponize sex?
It depends on the type of woman. I can't say that. I can't say that because I've seen how women talk about sex. I've seen how, we got a lot of women walking around with babies. They're not withholding sex. They're withholding sex from men that they don't like, but they're not withholding sex, ma'am. No.
We're talking about marriage, though, within the marriage.
Okay, so if she's withholding sex, something's not right. She don't like you. I know a lot of sexually aggressive wives than wives that are not sexually attracted to their husbands. That means she don't like you right now. I'm not saying she don't like you at all, but if there's no intimacy, you're not watering your grass somewhere. Or maybe she needs some fixing. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between y'all, and y'all got to figure it out. But I wouldn't say a woman is not going to deprive her husband intentionally unless she had malicious intent.
Okay. That's my point. When I say weaponize, I mean with malicious intent, because is it not a running joke that women
marry somebody like that? I just can't. I guess I'm having a hard time fathoming a good wife doing something like that. Like, I don't feel like I've ever had to really just deprive them. There are moments where, like, we don't have sex or something like that, or when you have kids, those are moments where you're not going to be have. So what you gonna do? What you gonna do for 6 weeks? It's still her responsibility. Like, that's what I'm saying, Mel. Like, men be trying to blur the lines. It's your responsibility. If I'm healing and I just gave birth to your child, don't ask me about no head either. Don't ask me about nothing. I'm barely getting sleep. I'm waking up every 2 to 3 hours. And I actually saw a post. If you want your wife to have more time for you, do stuff to where she has more time for you. Help with the kids, help with the household stuff. So by the time that she gets to you, she gonna have all the energy in the world for you. But don't ask and expect sex if you got her working like a workhorse and you're not doing your due diligence as a husband to help her.
Now, Tamara, I'm up here feeling personally attacked. I'm having 2 babies in the span of 13 months. I feel attacked now. You coming for your boy, but but seriously, okay, let's take it away because you're doing the same thing Vera does. When you two are great wives. You only see through your lens. Let's take it away from yourself. Talk about it from this standpoint. It's not a running joke from comedians and all over of women saying, if my husband don't do what I want, I'm keeping this coochie away from him. Is that not a running joke?
That is, but I ain't doing that because I want it.
We're not talking about the girl. We know you want-
Well, I'm just saying, like most women are not going to do that. Like even single women, the way that they when they get that urge, okay, they gonna find somebody. Most women got somebody they can tap into, unless they're just celibate. Most women do.
100%.
So again,
especially the celibate ones.
right. So if a woman is weaponizing sex, it's for a reason. That means there have been problems in that marriage before it even got to that damn point. Like, why do I have to even withhold sex? Because that just shows you how much, maybe that's how much of a priority that man made sex. And the only way that she could get his attention was to cut him off, and it could be something like that. But and then sometimes men put sex all the way up here. In my opinion, you ain't busy enough if you think about sex 24/7. You're not going to sit here and tell me, and I'm so tired of men telling me this, men think about sex 24/7. No, the fuck you don't. No, the fuck you don't.
Right,
if you have, Mel, if you have a wife, if you work all the time, sometimes you're going to be going through things in life where you ain't going to have time to think about it. And that's just an individual in general. This ain't even about men. Let's be realistic. You're not are you thinking about sex when you sleep? Are you thinking,
Yes.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you're in church, are you thinking about sex in church? Because you're supposed to be focused on God. Let's be clear, because I'm tired of men saying that. If you
see how they wouldn't be dressing at church.
Hold on. But how can you prove that men think about sex 24/7? How can we prove that?
This is gonna shut you down right here. Shut you down. You just made my point for me earlier. I say this all the time. I'm grateful that you said it. Women ovulate at least once a month, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm former Mr. Big Head. I used to see the fireworks exciting.
Oh
I'm
God.
excited. I'm former Mr. Big Head. Women that shut me down say I don't want nothing else to do with you ever until the ovulation come. Hey, Big Head. Now, imagine how y'all feel.
I already know what you're gonna say. Somebody
time.
else told me that. I already know how
That's
you feel.
every day of our life.
No, because not every day of
our
your life. Okay, so then why are certain women sex addicts? If we gonna go by that logic, because women think about sex outside of ovulation. Let's be clear on that. It's just very, it's like we fighting our bodies, man. It's like our bodies want us to be pregnant. I think that's probably one of the moments where it's the most strongest, and this is why you probably have a lot of women that have kids out of wedlock, because yes, it's a lot to deal with. Like, you're fighting against yourself. But for men to think that's the only time that we want it, absolutely not. Okay,
I agree. I know it ain't.
But so I just think that's, where does it say that women don't think about it like that? Again, where are we getting this notion that one sex thinks about sex more than the other just because one lacks self-control and self-discipline?
I don't think it's about that.
No, it is, because
because
they say that men need it more. No, men don't need it more. Women need it just as much as men do, because if you need it, who you fucking? You fucking women. Okay.
Let me tell you this. If that was true.
So we have to equally want it. So I don't subscribe to that. Now, just because there's a lot of beautiful women walking around. So y'all are going to be walking around seeing that, and I can understand you being attracted or maybe lusting to a certain degree, but don't act on it. It's still your responsibility. Don't act on it. There's nothing, I mean, you can't, everybody is attracted to beauty. Everybody's attracted to things that look nice. Okay. And that's just, it is what it is. But yeah, no.
It does take more discipline, because from the time you were born, Tamara, somebody been protecting what's between your legs. And then they taught you how to protect it. From the time we were born, we've been told to use what's between our legs. If you ain't got the right people around you, if you ain't got the right guidance, they trained you essentially.
Yeah.
What do they say? What do they say to little boys when he look cute, got a little fade, got a little green eyes? Oh, he gonna be a player when he grow up.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say, little girls? If I heard a story actually of a man coming up to his homeboy, his daughter was around. He told his homeboy, "Man, that girl she's gonna be thick when she grow up." A mayhem started. I'm talking about he almost killed a guy. And I'm saying, and that's the point. Like, it's not the same environment when you grow up, and then when you get older, get all the urges. I'm literally I'm not, because I've been about to tell on myself, because I've been involved with a lot of women. I get the ovulation period. I get where all sense goes out the window. Any type of, and I get it. Some women are better at it than others.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, most women cave into that.
Mm-hmm.
And most men, we do as well if we not disciplining ourselves, and if we haven't reached that point of really disciplining or really understanding who we are as men, or like you said earlier, we have gotten tired of it. But I think it's disingenuous, Tamara, to say that women don't have it hard. I mean, men don't have it harder, especially being that y'all are in control of sex. Because
we only control
you determine when you do or don't have it.
Y'all have the same control. Y'all just don't want to have to say no all the time. Y'all don't want to ever have to say no. That's a personal problem. That ain't our problem.
By that I mean you have suitors coming to you at all times. It's your choice to say
no.
Yes, I will with him.
It's based on attractiveness. Why do men say that? Every woman is not sexually attractive to all men. All women are not getting all of this sexual attention. You got women on TikTok complaining that they can't find somebody to treat them right and love them right. Again, we're talking about
sex, not love.
But I'm just saying, we're not talking. I know plenty of women who complain, okay? And every woman is not attractive. Every woman is not attractive. Every woman's not going to have all these suitors coming up to her. And just because you getting it don't mean it's good. That's another thing. Don't mean it's good.
That's a whole different conversation too. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't have my share.
I think with the number of kids we see born out of wedlock, the way that I'm part of women's groups and the way that they talk and how sexually vulgar they are, Mel, I beg to differ. I really beg to differ. You got women now that have body counts just as high as men. So what are we saying right now? Like, there is no difference. We have reached a point where we talk about women being sexually liberated. Men are also sexually liberated. It's a combination of us all. And we're demonizing women for acting the same way as most of our leaders. So again, what are we
definitely not demonizing? Definitely not demonizing.
No, I'm just saying men do. Men do typically, demonize the red pill movement. But that's how we're operating. You want a pure woman and you go run the streets. No, because biblically, you're not supposed to be out here having sex like that either.
At all. So I'm not, by no means am I justifying it.
Because where does it say in the Bible that only women are supposed to be virgins? Only women are supposed to save themselves. Where does it say that in the Bible, Mel? Because let's be clear. The Bible actually says you don't have to be married. But if you can't control yourself sexually, which means you can't not have sex, get married. Let's be clear. And if you want to have kids, if you don't want to get married, you're not supposed to be out here having sex. Biblically.
Well, we do know, and that's Paul again. Paul again talking to the Corinthian church, which I agree with that. And I'm saying he said that to the male and female. However, we know there are natural double standards. We do know if there wasn't, then we wouldn't be protecting our daughters the different way that we protect our sons. I, for one, talk to young men the same way I talk to young women about sexual purity. But we just know there's just natural societal double standards that we live by.
We got a lot of we got a lot of toxic culture associated in our community, and that's one of them. I'm not going to ever subscribe to an idea where a man who can roam the streets deserves a pure woman. Most women are not going to be virgins these days, and it just is what it is. And how can you want all these virgins if you out here sleeping with all these different women? So again, men also have to clean some stuff up, and they're expecting women to act differently than what they act. When again, as leaders, you're supposed to be leading by example. And a lot of them are not very good examples. So
I agree. But if we're going, we're going to get ready to wrap it up here. But I do want to say this. you asked where this started, where did it come from, and you know, I know the urges have always been there as far as women are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But will you agree with me that the route or the women choosing to act on those urges has increased over the last 20 to 30
Oh, most
years?
definitely. Yes. That's how you
And
know
I would
we
say
both lack self-discipline and self-control.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I will venture to say, we ain't got to go deep into it. It started with the fourth wave of the feminist movement.
Yes.
Where we have
feminist
people
movement.
like,
Yep.
where we have people like Amber Rose who did the slut walk.
Yep.
But has now shifted her life over to Christ and regressed that tremendously.
And BS as well. Oh, this is what I be talking about. This is exactly what I be talking about. You don't even get me started, man.
Right. But yeah, I think we, you know, it's no way to turn, but you know, it's like a pendulum. It's gonna swing back. And I think we are starting to see more young people lean towards more Christ and purity. Hopefully that's not just a phase or a fad, but hopefully that's something that we really lean into. But Tamara, this has been a spirited conversation. I'm glad, honestly. I look for moments where we can disagree because I think we can do it amicably and we can do it with love and also come to some form of understanding and agreement at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So this is segment 1 of our new segment, Married Minded. How you think it went?
I think it went good. It was almost like the battle of the sexes in America.
Absolutely. It's our favorite thing to do. Me and my wife, Vera, we do banter at the house all day.
I be doing that to me and my husband. Like, I be like, what do you think? Or why do you think men do? Like,
ain't nothing better than it, man. Don't let one of her shows be on. I'll be right there. Oh, she crazy, boy. You know, just all day. But anyway, Tamara's been amazing as always. Anything you want to leave with the people before we get out of here?
The only thing I can say is, you know, just be careful of the advice that you receive. Take heed to certain things and filter out the rest. That's all I got for you.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Marriage Minded here at Life Coaching by Mel. Be sure you go follow here Tamara as well. We see you guys later. Take care. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mel. Thank you for joining my channel. Thank you for checking things out here. Oftentimes, we go on people's pages and are like, man, what is going on here? What is the purpose of this channel? So let me be clear. The purpose of this channel is to speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And when I say truth, I'm not saying my truth, not your truth, but the Lord's truth. All about the word, all about the ways and the will of God. What does he have to say about the nuclear family? And I believe the generations of today, whether it be Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever the case may be, I believe now we have a very toxic relationship regarding marriage, regarding family, regarding having children. We're in a toxic dynamic as we speak. And honestly speaking, a lot of the answers that we're looking for in our community, a lot of the cures and a lot of the answers would come from a proper, fulfilled family home. If you go down the line of everyone's individual trauma, there you will find some negligence or some type of issue that they had with their parents. So here on this channel, we address those things head on. We don't place fear in those issues and avoid the topic. We do what Jesus did. And when he said, don't assume that I came for peace, but I came with a sword. I came to turn family members against family members if it means you following me. If you have to cut them off, if you have to address them and have arguments for you to follow me, so be it. And I think at this point in our society, we're at the so be it stage. So here at Life Coaching by Mel, I'm all about bringing healing to that. And the number one way to do that is have honest conversations. So if that's something you like, that's something you're into, that's something you really want to be a part of, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to comment. Let me know what you think about everything. I do my best to respond as often as I can. I want to hear from you guys. This is not about me. It's about healing our nation, healing our states, healing our cities, healing our community, healing our homes. Love you guys. Take care.
Let's go.